Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another one, man. We got the top 10 anime fights of 2020, man. So there's some fights on here, just from the thumbnail alone that I didn't see. I wasn't even aware of. So, man, we're gonna check this out, man. Shout out to everybody in the Zero Division, man. Shout out to MugTech. Shout out to everybody who support the channel, man. And I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys being here. There's nothing to it but to do it. And let's get it. Ooh, dude, that fight was serious. Baracoli. Now this anime I have no idea about.
But we're actually in the last few weeks of 2020 already. Time's flown by, largely in part to the situation of the world at large.
I ain't never seen that.
Of the anime industry is a tale for the ages, and I still find myself amazed at Japanese resiliency that managed to still bring us these shows that we love.
Yeah.
So for today, I'll be going through 10 of the best anime fights in 2020. Because let's be honest, half of the guys who like shonen series like anime for the fantasy and the fights, and we'll be taking a look at the best of the both of them today.
Okay.
As a precaution, there will be spoilers on this list, but I'll try to keep them to a minimum. Also, I won't be including stuff from fall 2020, even though I've already had some candidates in mind. I'll be saving that for the fall fights video, or maybe a volume 2 of this video. Now, before anything, I'd like you to subscribe and help this channel reach its next milestone. Your contribution would be much appreciated. We start the list with the fight where everyone teams up against Demon in Black Clover.
Ooh. Ooh, dang.
It's been a while, but I legitimately think that Black Clover's become an underrated show. It may be because of the bad publicity it had when it first aired, but it has become a really enjoyable show now. But not a lot of people still seem to be watching it. A battle shonen is nothing without good fights.
Yeah,
we see a prime example
I agree
of
with
what
that.
Black Clover brings to the table with this fight.
I know, I've been kind of sleeping on Black Clover too.
Tense circumstances, a seemingly unbeatable foe, old reliable allies pitching in and joining the fight with their own awesome stunts. Seeing Arsenal surpass his limits whilst the opening music plays in the background sent chills down my spine, really. The finishing move's probably one of my favourite Black Clover moments this year, period. It's too bad that many people sleep on Black Clover, but I think it's done pretty well for itself given the circumstances.
Ooh. God dang. God.
Coming up next is a fight from Gleipnir. Shuichi and Claire.
I ain't never seen this one. Okay, we throwing hands. Ooh.
The dynamic duo of Shuichi and Claire had a tough customer as their first challenge while getting used to their powers. They'd barely gotten an idea of the whole coin collecting business and their powers before they were shoved into the battle royale.
I wonder what this about.
Had powerful limbs. The fight itself is not that swingy, as once Shuichi and Claire got a hang of things, they dispatched their first opponent without too much effort. The thing ends up with us getting a glimpse of Claire's ruthless side, but not before we get to see some great animation courtesy of Pine Jam. I think
dang, beating her down.
How the fight was done in a way that outdoes its manga counterpart. The encounter helped Gleipnir break through and become one of the more popular shows in the admittedly dry spring season. It then led the way to more amazing
I ain't never heard of this.
See down the line, but in terms of actual visuals, none of them come close to this one. We continue with something big. Misaka versus Doppelganger in the finale of Railgun T.
Whoa, now that's CGI. That's good CGI right there.
Now, I know that this isn't the fight that I talked about the last time I featured Railgun T, but while that battle between side characters has all the makings of a grand fight, I think it just lacked a bit of oomph in terms of spectacle and scale compared to what we have
still,
as
bro.
Railgun T. Where else could you see a giant Godzilla in anime and a showcase of how badass Misaka really is? I mean, before this, you'd probably think how she's one of the weaker level 5s thanks to how normal she seemed amongst the sociopaths or downright.
I'm sleeping, bro. I love that art though. It kind of got that oh man, what's the name of that anime movie? It's one of the best anime movies of all time. Kind of
with near-perfect adaptability. The run-in by the rest of Scavenger as uneasy allies also brought me joy when I first watched this finale. Now, I hope that this convinced you to give Railgun T a shot, especially if you enjoyed the previous
I give it a shot.
Anime on its third season, it hasn't lost its edge ever since the series started a decade ago.
Whoa! Dang!
Well, here's a battle featuring a side character now, as we move on to Berkoli versus Vector.
Yeah. Now this one, dude, I was rooting for Berkoli so bad, bro.
The last core of
But his move, his move at the end of that fight, top tier. Easily one of the best moves of Sword Art.
An episode after. And it wasn't Kirito's return that got people most excited. That would have to wait until around 5 to 6 more episodes. It was Berkoli's battle against Dark Lord Vector. Prior to this fight, we barely saw much of what Berkoli could really do.
Yeah.
That he more than deserves his moniker of being the legendary hero and the strongest Integrity Knight. Going toe-to-toe with the Lord of Darkness is next to impossible, but the leader of the Integrity Knights did it. As a novel reader, I can say that some details were omitted, which would have made the fight even more amazing, but I'm generally satisfied with what
I'm very satisfied with that fight. I don't even read the novel.
The best adapted in this core, but in terms of visuals and presentation,
but the visuals
completely blows everything else out of the water. A1 really bringing their A game to their cash cow.
I mean, this is top tier animation right here.
Battles against impossible obstacles with the entire sequence versus Tiamat in the last part of Fate Grand Order Babylonia.
Oh look, boy, I gotta write some of these animes down.
Now, I think I've cheated with this one a little bit. Why? Well, I won't be talking about a single fight, but I'll be compiling everything into a sequence.
What is that?
Sequence against Tiamat as she marches towards Uruk is nothing short of awesome. Noble phantasms being thrown everywhere, so many character arcs finding their course, some really amazing scenes like Quetzalcoatl's double noble phantasm and the Mash and Merlin combo. For me, it's this series of episodes that make Babylonia the most fun I've had in a Fate anime in a while.
Yeah, that's some good. That's some good art. That's some dang good art.
Along with the voice acting, it really enhanced these moments. If you're looking for a Fate anime to watch, make sure you give this one a whirl. Don't be intimidated with how it's supposed to be towards the end of the Grand Order storyline. You can completely watch Babylonia as a standalone without prior knowledge of Fate.
Okay.
We move on to a non-Japanese anime on the list, like this one from White Cat Legend.
Oh, nice. Okay, scrapping. It looked like you fighting Gilgamesh.
If you've been following, I recently featured this fight a few lists back, and looking at the stuff that I've watched this year, I can proudly say that I made the right call. Looking at the year as a whole, this final fight still holds up really well. Like, you can watch it without context,
barely scratched
and still
them.
be entertained. That's not to say that
I love the
the
black lines around the characters.
I'm pretty sure most people like for its choreography and just how complicated each sequence is.
Yeah.
It's a complete chore to animate, yes. But thanks to the amazing team who brought us this series, we got something so aesthetically pleasing.
Wow.
We don't have grand attacks like noble phantasms that take up 80% of the screen in explosions, but as some say, less is more and simple is better.
Wow. Wow.
If you've been paying attention...
Stop this, I'll be right back.
to my videos lately, you won't be surprised to see this on the list.
Wow. How are they getting this top tier quality, bro? Like, look how smooth it. Like, look how smooth the lines are.
Anime
and the movement, like of the sweeping motions of every character. Like that's.
Maybe it's due to being less mainstream and thus being under the radar.
Oh man, what is this?
Whatever the reason may be, 2 thumbs up for the work they did in this sequence. In fact, if you were to tell me which Fog Hill fight I have to feature, I'd consider this interchangeable with the bridge scene that I featured on another list. Make sure to check that video out too if you've got the time. Back to this topic though, this thing is insane. Come on, try playing the video in slow motion and you can see how much work got put into the sequence in order to give us this experience. I had a hard time following the action at times, and that's not a negative thing, not in this context. It instead adds to the experience of the scene, and it's an experience that you rarely get these days. You knew a My Hero fight is coming sooner down the line, didn't you? Wait no more now, because our next entry is Endeavor versus Hood. The latest season of My Hero Academia really gave us one spectacular send-off. It shows off some lit visuals as well as a big redemption for everyone's favorite. It's a fight filled with high stakes because honestly, I think that the whole is screwed if Endeavor and Hawks can't take down the high-end Nomu. When Hood began seeking out strong opponents, he got what he wanted, and it was a spectacle that we all got. The fight's not a stomp and is a very intense back and forth exchange with a lot of fake finishes. A lot of times you think that the fight's over, but the combatants just keep coming back. Plus we get to see a plethora of Endeavor's moves that couldn't have been animated any better. It's just simply beautiful. I personally still put United States of Smash as my favorite fight, but this one's
yeah, of course it is. It's All Might.
How impactful it was.
Ooh.
Second place on this list is Jin versus Devi from
that was a good fight. That was a great fight. It's like some of these fights, the way they choreograph, it's like they use real people.
It can't carry that momentum to the end. When critics called God of High School an anime that's just full of fights, it makes you think that the fight should at least live up to the hype. Now, for the most part, I think the fights more than pull their weight and still make God of High School an exciting watch. At the forefront of many fights is Jin versus Devi. It's a tough decision for me, but I give this fight the nod because of the sheer hype and stakes it has going for it. We just saw Devi demolish his previous opponent, and we finally learned why he seemed so hell-bent on winning. In the hopes of saving his friend, Devi had taken on a much more sadistic turn at fighting, and this new fighting style surely gave Jin a run for his money. The actual fight has to be seen to be believed, as we got a brilliant barrage of attacks that showcase both fighters' intensities and will to win. The best part about it is that it ends with the classic happy ending for everyone, with bonds forged through fire and a renewed will to face tomorrow. You can find gems in the most unlikely of places, and that saying
now this
with the #1 entry
Hitori versus
that one fight from Hitori no Shita.
Hitori no Shita. Boy, this right here, he was giving them straight hands.
Chinese anime, raise your hand. If you expected it to come from the 3rd season of Hitori no Shita, keep your hands raised. Okay, now if you kept your hand raised, you know you're lying, okay? The series as a whole isn't too popular, and who would have expected this gem of a fight to be hidden in its 3rd season of all places? Heck, I won't even consider it much of a 3rd season, but more of a transition to a possible 4th season. Yet in this unassuming transition season of a niche show, we have some of the sleekest and smoothest animation for a fight scene in as far back as I can remember. For how much is going on and how fast things are moving, it amazes me how the animators just knocked it out of the park with this one. In terms of dramatic stakes, the fight might be nowhere near the top, but in terms of animation and fight choreography, it certainly takes the cake for the best fights in 2020.
Yeah, I would say just quality of fight and the movement and that in the colors, you know what I'm saying, the aesthetics of the fight, man, the art, it's just it was clearly the best animated fight of 2020. I don't think anybody would disagree. If you disagree,
so how did you find this list?
Then you
Do you
different.
think that 2020 has been a good year in terms of anime fights? Are there other anime fights this year that I've missed out on? There's so much more that I'd love to hear from you on, so make sure to chime in and give me your thoughts through the comment section down below. As usual, if you enjoyed the list and want more, hit that like button.
Yeah, that was a pretty good list,
and ring
man.
the bell so that you can be the first in line next time. I'll see you next time on VinnyTube.
But yeah, man, that was a really good list. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. I wholeheartedly agree. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the comment section, man, and I'll catch y'all guys at another one. Y'all know what it is. Win, lose, stay grinding, man. Peace out. I want to give a hearty shout out for everybody watching the video, man. I appreciate you guys for hanging out and watching this with us. Thank you for the likes, subscribes, man. And shout out to the Zero Division, man, for everything that you do. I appreciate you guys' donations. And don't forget to always pull out your sword and BONG!